Hey everybody, some media house cleaning because I said I'd do it. Basically, to myself, not so much in the tweet, but I said I'd do it. The attack upon Ohio State University students that were within the site of Abdul Razak Ali Artan that was done with a car and with knives, not a gun. Some of the people who responded to this, particularly on Twitter, were quick to add once they read other sources that it was a knife attack, but then they followed up with some observation that I or others had a political agenda, and that wasn't the case at all. The initial reports, regardless of whether it was a mainstream media outlet, which generally was, or another organization like, for example, the Columbus Dispatch or the Ohio State University itself via Twitter, or associated or people associated with the Ohio State University who were putting out tweets reported that there was either a shooter or gun violence. The term shooter was used a lot, a ton. That's where, when I issued my first video, I used the term gun violence because that's what I knew it to be. One thing people have to keep in mind is, regardless of the situation, the style and structure of news today is such that there's always a race to get something out fast. And the reason is very simple. I call it the blip. The blip is whoever hits the blip of news interest before it becomes a blip makes the most money, because that content, because it's among the few, if not the first, gets searched for the most, and then gains the most views, which means and translates to the most money that it can before interest falls. That's the blip. There are a lot of these blips that occur daily for different reasons, these news blips. Generally, these news blips are created by television, because television and collective television, and what I mean by collective television, what I mean by that is, you may watch, say, the NFL Network or ESPN, or someone else might watch the Lifetime channel at a particular time, let's say 11 o'clock in the day. Someone else on CNN, and so on and so on and so on, or CBS. Someone else is watching a soap opera. The times are different because we're in different parts of the country and the world. But when you have an event like the Ohio State attack or Dylan Roof's actions that tend to capture attention on television, and then first a little bit by social media, then it percolates up and the television grabs it, what happens is the blip is created. In the early days of the blip, it used to be television singularly was causing them, but now social media is so widespread and rampant and interconnected that you can have blips created solely on social media, on blogs, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, platforms that we normally don't use, interconnected platforms, and then television pays attention to it. And if it's a story that follows the edict, if it bleeds, it leads, like this one on Ohio State attack, it gets put out, and suddenly you've got television station after television station after television station repeating what the lead affiliate organization is telling them to put out there, and that's followed up by its competitor, and next thing you know, you've got an enormous number of people in media saying the same thing at once about one thing, and therein creates a giant blip. And so everyone's rushing to be on that blip at some point, and in order to capture the right place in search, you've got to use common words. If you don't use common words, a lot of search engines are designed to subordinate content with titles that don't match what the common titles have, excuse me. That's particularly true for Google News. You understand what I'm saying? So it's for that reason you get the headlines you see initially. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. In this case, the headline was very wrong, but for a very complicated set of reasons, all fitting within the problem that we have, which drives media, and it's blip content. Blip driven content. And I say blip, not blimp, blip. BLIP. Blip driven content. That's the problem. The bottom line is it wasn't a gun shooting. It wasn't shooting at all. It involved a car and knives.